We have a new free, super deep and simple to use chord generator, which is actually a super deep and simple to use free instrument. Of course, I'm talking about Sunbox, and I know that it has a paid version, but the only limitation of the free version is that you cannot access the sample editor. So you can use all the different effects, modulators, and the deep arpeggiator, and the new feature that the latest update brings, the chord generator. This new feature is both deep and simple to use, and can lead to very inspiring kind of chord sequences. But there's something that makes it even better. This plugin can now send MIDI to other instruments on your projects, meaning that it's also a free chord generator. And one last thing that's worth mentioning before diving deep into it is that they added Linux support. But anyway, as I said, the new chord generator is super simple to use. You just activate it right here, and then you can select the key, the scale, and the chord type. Then each key that you press will trigger a chord accordingly to the scale and the chord type that you have chosen. That means that if you choose the major scale of C and you choose the major chords on the chord type, it's not going to trigger, for instance, D major, because that's not part of the C major scale. It's still going to trigger D minor, E minor, or B diminished, or A minor, etc. So as I said, it's super simple to set up, and you just start making different chord progressions that are always going to sound beautiful. So let's experiment a bit. Let's create some sequences for this small beat that I'm working on. And let's choose maybe a plucky sound to make it a little bit more ethereal, more beautiful. Of course, you can transpose it and even have different inversions to change the order of the notes of the chord. Now, as this is a plucky sound, let's try to strum it. Maybe we add some velocity offset. And actually, let's add another layer because I want to experiment with a path using the bend option, which is like a glide, but for chords. It sounds nice because it's taking the notes to the corresponding other note. Now let me mute the pad for a while because I want to experiment with the other type of chords. I mean, look at this. We have a lot and some of them are crazy. It reminds me a little bit to Chord Generator by Mario Nieto. Let's use this one. Minor major 7 at 13 suspended. Now, as I mentioned, the scale parameters will make it so we are still on key with the key. And that means that it doesn't matter if we choose the weirdest of chords. I mean, it's going to play weird chords, but with notes that are part of the scale. So it still sounds pretty nice. Now, this small track is on a minor scale, but I also want to check the weirder kind of scales that we can choose from. I mean, we have Byzantine, Chinese, Egyptian, Japanese, Persian, enigmatic, 8-tone, Spanish, double harmonic. Let's experiment a little bit with this. They can sound pretty crazy, honestly. It's more for an experimental type of progression, I think. But it's super nice to have all of these options, even though most of us are going to use like 5 of these. Now, one thing that I wonder about this is that if you can subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Sorry, but I have to keep your attention when I ask for that. What happens, baby? ¿Quieres bajar? But anyway, let's go back to the minor scale to sound more regular, but I want to experiment with something else. Let's choose another plug sound to complement the first one. And now what I want to do is to keep the same scale and key, but change the chord type to something exotic and maybe change the inversion. So I want to know what happens when we have the same scale but different chord types, to hear how they complement each other. It sounds nice, honestly. It's a nice way to create something bigger. So yeah, it's a very nice chord generator, but I wonder if this works also with the arp. I mean, yeah, it works, of course, because you're playing a chord before going to the arp. Now, what I like about this arpeggiator is that it's independent for each layer, meaning that you can set different things. And it has this like pattern kind of editor, which makes it super nice to create weirder kind of sounds. It also has a randomizer. For instance, we can use it for the velocity, giving you different intensities. But we can change the octave. We can make it so, for instance, one of these sounds spreads a lot more by using the panning. And the density is especially nice for these pluggy sounds because it's going to make like a repetition on each step. It can go very fast, so it lets you go more experimental too. Yeah, I like that sound. It makes the arpeggio be a lot more interesting. Now, there are other experiments that you can create with these chords. For instance, let's choose again different chord types, weirder and weirder, but also let's select the same sounds on each of the layers. So then we activate the vector and of course the movement, and we will have this morphing chords kind of sound. And it's super interesting because remember that the chords are part of the same key and scale, but they are different chords, meaning that the sound is going to be changing over and over again. To make it more interesting, let's choose plucky sounds and let's activate the arpeggiator. So now we will be fading in and out from different rhythms too. Of course, by making the arpeggiator rhythms different. It sounds beautiful, honestly. I like it a lot. And I like Soundbox a lot too. As I said, the free version is super deep. You can change parameters, add effects, modulation, now the chords, the arpeggiator, the vector, and more. And if you want more sounds or even the ability of using your own samples, well, for that you have the paid version, which is also a nice deal. By the way, I'm going to upload presets, of course, for my patrons and channel members. You know that you can get those and many other presets if you join. I don't care if you join and then leave with the presets, just they are there for you. But anyway, I love when an instrument adds a nice chord feature where it lets you to experiment a lot. It looks very simple, but it has a lot of depth too. But I want to know your opinion about it, so let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, I will see you next time, and bye bye.